Hello, this is an addendum to the Philosophy of Time series. It's entitled More Deep Thoughts on the Philosophy of Time. It's in the way of a correction and apology for not stating what I meant to say, and then for attempting to correct myself and still not getting to it. So I'll do it now, and that is on the issue of causality and relativity. No way, shape, or form does relativity speak of the reversal of causality within a given frame of reference, or even from the standpoint of another frame of reference, viewing a frame of reference. Here's a clarified example of what I was trying to say, and this is, again, we'll let the trains go and the beanbags go. If I'm here and a spaceship is here, and we're side by side, there we go. And then the spaceship takes off at incredibly close to the speed of light, and then goes to Alpha Centauri, and which is then back, and it would be what, about 8.6 or 8.7 years round trip. Let's say it's 8.7, so it's not at the speed of light, but it's about 8.7 years my time. So from my clock, t equals 8.7 years. On board the ship, it would be much less. Let's say, I don't know, let's say 10 minutes passed. When the ship loops around again near Earth and I send a signal, the signal is going from my 8.7 years to the ship's, I don't know, 10 minutes. Now, it would also be the case that the ship would see me time dilating too. So, again, the whole concept there assumes the idea of a universal clock, but it only assumes the idea of a universal clock to disprove the idea of a universal clock. So, that actually is what I meant to say, believe it or not. I promise you that one. It's just I'm not an expert on physics, so in terms of how to say it, I definitely probably won't be emphasizing physics too much. And thanks to the individual who did point that out. Now, some philosophical conclusions can be derived from that. Most physicists would say that there is no universal clock, and that would be the relativists who would say that. And that would go along with McTaggart's ideas about time just fine, that you have, a C series. Of course, Einstein did believe in the arrow of time, and McTaggart did not. Okay, so that would be a crucial difference. But yeah, I mean, within a given frame of reference, for instance, in my frame of reference, I send it at 8.7 years, and it arrives. Let's say the ship is as far away as the moon and takes 1.25 seconds, so it arrives later. However, on board ship, it would be the case that, as measured by me, okay, crucial caveat, only 10 minutes has passed, but you could say that if I'm looking at the clock on board ship, I send it at 10 minutes ship time and it arrives at 1.25 seconds after that. So there's no violation of causality, but if I were to assume a universal time standard, somehow a cosmic clock, okay, such as some philosophers, physicists don't believe it's possible, but there are some philosophers who, I am told, believe that such a thing might exist, some sort of privileged position that we haven't discovered yet. No, physicists won't go along with that one bit. At least the relativists won't go along with it. But if you did assume that, then you would have to say that, in a sense, you have constructed a sequence that would go from 8.7 years my time to just a little bit over 10 minutes their time. And yeah, that would raise, if you were to consider comparisons of frames of reference, you would construct a cause and effect sequence that would travel, maybe not backwards in time, but would travel, I don't know, diagonally in time. But since physicists reject the idea of a cosmic clock, you wouldn't say that. Now, for McTaggart, either conclusion one came to would be great as far as he's concerned, because in the case of, if you did assume a cosmic, some sort of privilege standard here, where you could say, yeah, 8.7 years my time, 10 minutes ship time, which you really couldn't. But I mean, if you did assume something like that, you could say you would have a C series in the way he understood it, meaning two events that you would relate however you wanted. But if you don't assume a privileged idea of time, then in some sense the question of time becomes, what is the now moment becomes questionable, which is the path that relativistic physicists would go. And in that case, you also would affirm some of McTaggart's solutions, or some of his ideas. Now, McTaggart did not believe in the idea that time existed. Einstein did. Okay. All right, well, if I flubbed at that time, then I give up. I'm mainly on here to do math or philosophy. So here's a crucial question, though, that I would ask, and that is, yes, the chain of cause and effect is within a given frame of reference, or even viewed from another frame of reference, would never change. You would always see future events as future. It just would depend on the intervals. But the question that I would ask is that you only know that by making reference to a particular frame of reference. I know my frame of reference because I know my frame of reference. So in some sense, to say that that time absolutely exists, there again, you're making reference to time. Now, relativists would say, yeah, sure, time exists. You have fabric of space, time, and everything. But you know that based on studying science, based on your own frame of reference. So I still maintain that the questions asked by McTaggart still stand. All right, thank you.